Hello, Pisces. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. And a big thank you to all of you who followed me over here. I love you guys. All right, Pisces. So before I get started, just to remind everybody, I read from Sun, Moon, and Rising, but feel free to take this message and apply it to wherever Pisces is in your chart. And please make sure that you're only taking in the messages that resonate with you. All right, Pisces. So this time you pulled discipline, choice, and calling the storm. I think that what's happening here is that you're wanting to see change. But the only way that that change is really going to take effect is if you're not allowing anything outside of you to influence the choices that you make. And it may be creating a storm for everything around you, but in the eye of the storm, right, there's peace. But this is empowerment pushed outward. So you've already found it within, it's already been there. But the fact that it's creating a storm talks about suppression. So I'm looking at this and you are wanting to create change. But you don't want outside influences dictating the choices that you make. So discipline. This talks about how you have the ability to create a program of change and stick to it. And after a period of time, it will transform from painful to pleasurable. And then working with this card talks about laying down that plan to create that kind of change and to create structure. But you need to stick to the commitments that you're making. And that's going to have to do with the choices that you are making. So now choice, I like how this one is described. It talks about the presence of the dove overhead in this card. And how it suggests peace it suggests that peace is more likely to prevail if choices are born out of love and respect. So it talks about discrimination, intuition, and common sense playing a vital role in deciphering needs from whims and wishes. It's no longer about, I wish I had this. It's more about, this is what I need in order for change to effectively start to take place. It says, be still and listen to the guidance of your internal conscience. And in the words of William Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. But calling the storm, Scorpio last week, this was very much an F around and find out type of energy. But I think that this is going to have to do with those of you who feel like your ability to make your own choices may have been suppressed. And people are going to find out really quickly that when you stick to the commitments that you make for yourself in order to create change, that they're no longer able to influence that. So the quote for this says that power comes not from the inside, but the connection and integration to a greater whole. It says, pull and release, push to the limit. The eye is the only peaceful place that can be. So you're peaceful in the choices that you're making, but what is outside of you is going to experience like a storm of change that's taking place that may not go along with what their expectations are. And I love how this one is described. It talks about how all too often we talk about empowerment coming from within, but we don't talk about what happens when it starts to get projected outward. And it says it will grow up and devour our chains and our jailers, and it will hurt us as well, but it will be healthier than to just stare at the chilly rain. We can restart only after we let ourselves end. So, there's the part of you where the change is taking place and it's creating an ending in what influences your choices, right? Now, the other thing though here too is to remember that, the empowerment that you feel within, you can use that and project it outward in order to create the kind of change that you're wanting to see. But the fact that discipline is required in this means that this is something that may have been really difficult for you. And you may have looked at it as you choosing things that were maybe selfish. and worrying about how it would affect what is going on outside of you or people outside of you. And for some of you, it may just simply be, changing your habits, but doing it for the purpose of, more empowerment for you. But I don't know, I get the feeling that for some of you, there have been too many outside influences making you feel like you should be making choices that don't really involve what you actually need. And that's where the whole F around and find out may be coming through. But I like the fact that ultimately, whatever choice you do make, you will feel peace with it. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that I'm seeing within those cards. All right, Pisces, your overall. The Knight of Wands. Immediately what I got from this is no wonder why people outside of you aren't liking the different choices that you may be making. The Knight of Wands is the overall for you. If this is the energy that you're taking on, this is going along with where your passion is leading you, but not really being concerned with long-term outcomes. It's being swept up in passion. Yeah, a lot of times it can be people who are in and out. You get caught up in their storm and then they're gone, right? But we'll see how this is playing out. Because if this is, what you're taking on, it's really about you experiencing the passion that drives you into different experiences. And I find it interesting when this shows up as an overall. Because I think that, we've been so heavily influenced to believe that we have to stay within, a certain structure, right? We're not allowed to just follow our fancy, if you will, and wherever our passion is taking us. Okay, in the past, the Nine of Swords. I'm tired of seeing this one. It's showing up for everybody. So the Nine of Swords in the past, this is you going over all of the painful thoughts that, are not allowing you to rest, or you feel like you're not getting a break from it, right? And it would make sense that at night, when we're trying to go to sleep, the conscious mind is like, wait a minute, we've got all these things that you need to look at. No, you don't, right? Give yourself a break. But in the past, you may be looking at a lot of the fears that you have surrounding, what you are dealing with. But we'll see how this is playing out. And this could also be you, though, facing those fears. Look at that. Perfect. So in the present moment, the Nine of Cups, wish fulfillment. What do you want? What do you really want? And will it bring the contentment that you're looking for? But right now, some of you may be looking at what you have been needing in terms of emotional fulfillment. And some of you may finally have worked out some of the fears and the blocks that you may have had when it comes to actually realizing, your wishes being fulfilled. But we'll see here. So the Page of Cups, and I love the Page of Cups in terms of Pisces. I always think of Pisces when I see this. So the Page of Cups here, we're talking about, this kind of communication that is coming through that is loving. It opens up creativity, but it's pure in intention, which is where, the naive kind of influence is coming in with the Page of Cups. But this is communication that opens the door for you to allow your creativity to have free range, but experiencing it in the outer world. Now, absolutely, it could be finally you accepting what you want, whereas before, your mind is telling you you can't have this, this will never be a part of your experience, blah, 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 right? Whatever. Those are the thoughts that you may have been impressing onto the subconscious mind that have been blocking you from making different choices to get what you want, right? That makes you feel good. And it's like, as soon as you allow that and you allow for that to come in, that's where there may be this communication. Now, this may be you communicating or somebody else communicating to you. But it's like, it's innocent in nature. There's no like hidden intentions happening here. And this may create like a want for you to immediately act and follow your passion for that, for someone. And it may come through really like naive and innocent. But I'm okay with the fact that the Knight of Wands is the overall. So your fears may have surrounded situations that were constantly in and out of your life that get you swept up in this passion, and then they're gone. But this, I feel like, it is something that, you're allowing now, and not allowing fears to be projected into the future about what could possibly happen. Because does it really matter? If you're staying in the present moment, then it's about that experience and not, worrying about how the past influences the future. It's all happening at once. Like, I feel like this is going to open the door for you to start experiencing different passions that you may not have allowed yourself to follow, because of the negative thoughts that are preceding all of this. And if this is you finally, opening up to what you want and communicating that, you may go on quite the journey with it, right? Your best path to follow, the Four of Pentacles. What are you holding on to, right? The clinging type of energy. This is what I have. I'm not letting go of it. I don't have anything to give. And I look at this as your advice and think, be aware of the things that you're carrying with you into a new experience, because that's what this is. But it only comes through you opening up the door to what you actually want. It's important to hold on to the things of value, absolutely. But because you come in with the Nine of Swords, right, what kind of thoughts and ideas are you clinging to that are creating fear? It's almost like starting a new relationship and getting swept up in it, but then immediately allowing your mind to go to the end of it. And then inevitably creating that. And I feel like with the Knight of Wands, it's like, no, right? Like, no, you be in the moment of the passion and where it's taking you. And almost like allowing it to unfold the way that it needs to, right? Because I really feel like what's happening right now is just this openness and allowing yourself to actually accept the things that you are wanting. And like I said, it's like once that happens, it's either communication coming to you or you communicating something. But yeah, be aware of what you're carrying with you. What things, can you let go of that would prevent you from experiencing the fullness of having your own wishes fulfilled. In your environment, the Nine of Pentacles. Okay, so this to me looks like you are secure enough within yourself, what you have in your outer world, to where you're okay with opening the door to, allowing more of what you want to come in. But I almost feel like you needed to get to this place first. With the Nine of Pentacles, we're talking about no codependency, self-reliance, but also the security to be able to enjoy new experiences. So, and for some of you, absolutely financially, you may have been penny pinching in order to be able to take a trip somewhere, which absolutely could be the case. But now that, there's this feeling of independence that's going on within your environment. I think that, now it's like, okay, let's go ahead and finally open the door here and start like communicating that, or being open to, the communication coming through. But this is beautiful, right? I'm happy. I'm open to the things that I want. There's security. You're not dependent on anything outside of you to create experiences for you to enjoy. But it's interesting to me how you immediately come into this with the Nine of Swords. So you may have been working through a lot of fearful thoughts. And bravo, right? Like I've been saying continuously, self-reflection needs to happen. It needs to happen for everybody. And you've already gone through the worst of that process. But, because of that Four of Pentacles, I can't help but feel like there may be a shift that you need to be aware of in your habits. And that may be where discipline is coming through, where you're not attaching yourself to anything specific or any specific outcome. It's really about just allowing the experience and being in the present moment. Your hopes and your fears, the Knight of Cups, right? If I extend this offer, will it be accepted? And look at this. It's all this emotional openness and willingness to experience passion. Now, absolutely, this could have to do with, someone coming through where you have to detach from any idea of like locking this down, right? And keeping it in your experience, because that's not what this is about. But this definitely is hoping that, there's a shared experience here. Can I accept the emotions that are being offered to me, or will they be accepted? And if you are extending yourself in this way, then, there is the question of, are you being led astray by your innocent emotions? But again, that's garbage from the past that you may be holding on to, right? Whatever will be, will be. But you need to focus on the moment of that connection, right? Wow, man. And then and I can't help but look back at the Nine of Swords and the Four of Pentacles as your advice, going, stop it. The Hangman. Now, absolutely, if you're allowing yourself to just kind of like be for a minute in order to gain a different perspective on things, perfect. For some of you, this may turn your world completely upside down and change your views on the way that you have reacted to situations coming in and out of your life. If you feel like you're constantly being swept up in passion, and then you're getting on yourself about being naive about it, right? If you feel like that's what you're going to attract, you will continue to attract more of the same. But if you take your focus away from that, then you're going to be in the moment, experiencing things from a different perspective. Absolutely. But this is things being on hold, things being put on hold. And for some of you, yeah, it may be that, a situation is going to be put on hold for a minute. But I'm not seeing like an ending to this. It's almost like a period of like, I need to pause before I continue any further. And a lot of that has to do with the way that you're coming into this with the Nine of Swords. God, you are all over this reading. The Page of Pentacles. Oh, the Five of Cups. And then the Two of Wands. All right, so with the Page of Pentacles, again, we're talking about an opportunity that's being presented. Let me slow down. Words are hard right now. There's too much flooding in my head. And I'm getting all of this all at once. The Page of Pentacles. This is where new information is being used to create more. And this may be coming through communication. But this is an opportunity that is presenting itself to you, but it is very much connected to the fears of the past. But also the information that you have learned through self-reflection may be changing your view of what you are currently experiencing. It's like letting go of any expectations or attachments. And that may be why we're looking at the Nine of Pentacles. The Five of Cups, though, here very clearly we're talking about disappointment over what may have been lost through experiences that you've had with getting what you want emotionally. You know, the message there always has been that the Two Cups are still there. And the Two of Cups connection. But what you have been experiencing when it comes to your wishes being fulfilled has been less than satisfactory. And that may be because of attachments that you may have had. And with the Nine of Pentacles, right, you're not doing that anymore. And the Two of Wands, this is where the choice to act is coming from a very different perspective. So if things get heated to a certain point where you're so wrapped up in the passion and the infatuation of a situation, that's where time to stop now, gotta see things differently. And that, again, has a lot to do with what you're hanging on to and carrying into this situation. But this all looks new. New experience, new ability to follow passion. But, you know, again, I feel like it's really important to point out the fact that you need to stay in the present moment. You know, don't allow your mind to go back to the fears that, you know, you keep replaying when it comes to what you want showing up in your life, right? And again, allowing it, just allowing it. And I do think that if we're talking about you extending an offer or extending, you know, this communication of the way that you feel, I do feel like it's being accepted. But the Knight of Wands, it's going to feel like you're getting swept up in it really quickly. And it's because of that kind of energy that it pushes you back to the pain experienced from the past. But, you know, here we're talking about you have already learned from that. And there's, you know, this opportunity for something different to be created out of this with the Page of Pentacles, right? But consider your actions and consider, you know, how you're looking at this as far as the long term, because with the Two of Wands, right, if you hold your own world in your hand, how are you creating that? And if you're coming in with that, right, then it's not beneficial. But man, you may get swept up in something that just kind of carries you away. And in that case, right, just stay in the moment. Don't be attached to, you know, specific outcomes when it comes to what you're wanting from this. If what you're wanting is to feel this, just stay there. You know, because eventually here the energy is either going to leave or it's going to settle down. But there's nothing wrong with getting swept up in it, right? You learn a lot about who you are when those moments happen. Now, if we're talking about somebody coming back from the past here and getting you all caught up in your feels, this is where you just remain detached. The minute that the energy starts to turn into a what about the future, that's when, right, you have to consider the choices that you're making. The beginning. Yeah, for some of you, this feels brand new. I think that the Nine of Swords is an effect of the past. The beginning and truth. I've been seeing that a lot, and this one. New path emerging. So the beginning of a new truth that brings out a new path for you. I love the detail in this one. You're very close to achieving your goal and getting what you actually want. And then a personal issue reaches resolution. Perfect. I love the feeling of this because, you know, when you're talking about a water sign, right? You're thinking from the emotional perspective, not necessarily intellectual or anything else. How does it feel? How is it going to make you feel later on? But there's always that excitement that kind of comes up when something new enters your life, and there's that instant emotional connection. But what I love about this with the Page of Cups, it's pure in intention. There's nothing that is being hidden behind the scenes. Though some of you may be questioning yourself in how you're getting swept up in this. But remember, you know, with the Nine of Pentacles here, you are secure within yourself. And that is coming from the place of already having faced the fears that you have surrounding situations like this, especially in love. But this is something completely different, completely new experience. And I do think that for some of you, it's going to feel like it completely changes your worldview with the Hangman coming out. But it may put things on hold, but that's okay, right? It's in order for you to change the previous perspectives that you have carried in with this, right? I hope that helps. I love this reading. And I want to hear about your passion coming into your life and what you're getting carried away with, right? Because it looks like this is an opportunity to have fun and allow the path to unfold wherever it's going to go, right? But I love you guys, and I hope to see you again soon.